Everybody open your Bibles to Ecclesiastes 11. Caleb confused me earlier telling me we're on 12.
He's wrong.
No, I asked, are we on 11 or 12?
I was confused last week thinking we're still on 10. But anyway, chapter 11. We'll get going. It's not a long chapter tonight, which is good, so we get through it pretty quick, I think. And if I cough during this, forgive me. I will get better. All right, verse 1. Send your grain across the seas, and in time profits will flow back to you. But divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. When clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. All right. He's going to teach us a few lessons here to get started with. Send your grain across the seas. What are we talking about?
Send it out across the lands.
We're talking about global trade here.
Train, yeah.
We're trading with other countries that are across the seas. Okay? And in time, profits will flow back to you. His point is, okay, you know, we need a certain amount of trade, and we need a certain amount of global trade, because the people right around you can only buy so much.
Yeah.
So at some point you have to extend it out. If you don't, your profits aren't going to be that great, and you might actually even lose money. As a farmer, I can tell you this is true. You know, we keep our sales pretty local, so we don't make a lot of money. If I made my sales more further out, you could say, we'd make more money. But we just haven't got there yet. So, we're talking about trading between different lands, different countries, and it is profitable. Then he gives a little warning, but divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. If you are in the stock market today, you know what risk lie ahead. It crashed 10% today. The last time I checked, it was 2,300 points down on the Dow Jones.
That's what I said, the Dow in just one day, 2,000.
It has lost a whole bunch of money the past week. It will lose a whole bunch more money. So if you put all your eggs in the Dow Jones, you lost a lot of money. This is what most investors will tell you, spread it around. You want different markets, different types of investments, you know, bonds, cash, real estate, stocks, mutual funds, all kinds of things. You do not put everything in one place because you don't know what tomorrow is going to hold. So pretty smart investment advice from, gosh, what's this, 2,500 years ago, more or less?
Just a little bit.
When clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. What do you think he's alluding to here? What's his point? This is a kind of weird proverb. When clouds are heavy, rains come down. What do you think of when I say that?
Thunderstorms.
Okay. What else?
Bad times?
Could be, yes. Could be bad times. In my mind, I think of Homer Simpson going, duh. If the clouds are heavy, of course the rains are going to come down. Because we know heavy clouds have to drop their water.
They're full of water, yeah.
They're too heavy. It's going to rain. You should know that. If you don't know that, you're an idiot. Okay? If you see a big dark cloud coming at you, you know you're about to get wet, right? So this is common sense. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. What do you think his point is here? How would you translate that over to something else? Got an idea? Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. We got a thought?
One of the files is there for a while?
I don't know, it seems self-explanatory.
Why?
Because falls, it's not gonna just get up and move.
Yes, that's pretty much it. Whatever happens, it happens. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are about it happening,
It just happened.
it just happened. Okay? It is what it is. You heard that before, right? It is what it is. That's what Solomon's saying. Doesn't matter how it got there, it is what it is.
Like Popeye used to say that too.
So you can get upset about why it happened, how it happened, but it doesn't matter. It is what it is. Deal with it. If you really wanted to take this verse, this proverb, and wrap it up in one sentence, it is deal with what happens. Just deal with it. You cannot change it. You can't keep the heavy cloud from dumping its rain. You can't change the way the tree falls after it falls. Okay? It's there. Deal with it. Quit worrying about why, how, what. Deal with what's happened. It kind of goes back to that previous proverb. Divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. If you put them in the wrong place, guess what? You need to deal with it. Okay? You should have known ahead of time to alleviate the risk, but if you didn't, or even if you did, you deal with what's happened. Now's not the time to run back and try to change anything. It's too late. You can't change the way where the tree fell. You can't change the fact that the rain dumped out of the cloud. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. Why?
It's never perfect.
It's never perfect. As a farmer, I can tell you, the weather will never be perfect for farming. It'll be too wet, it'll rain too much, it won't rain enough, it'll be too hot, it'll be too cold. At some point, you just have to say, you know what? This is pretty good, okay, this is good enough, we're gonna plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. Same thing with harvesting. There's no perfect weather for harvesting. You may harvest your wheat and it rains on it. Okay, you let it dry before you can bundle it up. Your beans may get wet before you can pick them. Okay, you wait till they dry. It goes back to that other proverb there. Whether the tree falls north or south, it doesn't matter. You deal with what you've got. If you got imperfect weather to plant, you deal with that. If you got imperfect weather to harvest, you deal with that. You cannot wait for perfect timing. There is no perfect timing. God's timing is perfect. But we don't have perfect timing. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in its mother's womb, so you cannot understand the activity of God who does all things. Can anyone ever figure out the wind? I can figure out which way it's blowing. That's about it. Can't see it, can't grab it, can't touch it. I can feel it. I don't understand the mystery of a tiny baby growing. You take these little eggs and they multiply and they okay. How do we live in water for 9 months? I'm not a fish. But apparently I am. Because that's what you do. This is very complicated stuff. We don't really fully understand it. So, why would we think we can understand what God is doing? You ever tried to figure God out? There's a little bit of futility in trying to figure God out. At some point, you simply have to accept He is God, He knows what He's doing, and you trust Him. Because anything beyond that will drive you mad. It will drive you as mad as trying to catch the wind. And that's really what Solomon's getting at here. All these proverbs kind of lead into this. If you're not careful, you drive yourself crazy trying to figure things out that we really should simply accept. And God is one of them. We can't figure out what God's doing unless he tells us. Now, if he tells you this is what I'm doing, you know what God's doing. If he doesn't, and I get this a lot of times, people ask me, I don't know what God's trying to do in my life. Quit trying to figure it out, just go with it. You don't need to know what God's trying to do, you simply need to do it. And we fail at that one quite a bit. All right, plant your seed in the morning and keep busy all afternoon, for you don't know if profit will come from one activity or another, or maybe both. Terry, you like to drag race.
Right.
When you get on that track, do you know what's going to happen?
Right. Got a good idea of what's gonna happen, but you can't never be 100%.
You can't be sure how it's going to end up, right?
Right.
So it could go your way, it might not go your way. So,
Most time it don't.
yeah, I mean, so do you not race because the conditions aren't perfect?
No, because it's not actually about racing, it's just the thrill, I guess, the adrenaline that it gives you.
A lot of times it is the experience that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with everything we do, you know, I enjoy planting things and watching them grow. I've planted English peas 4 times this season, none of them come up yet. I think the little birdies eat my seeds before they sprout, you know. But I have no way of knowing that when I plant. I planted stuff today. Maybe I'll get some of it to come up, maybe not. Maybe it's still too cold.
In a greenhouse?
Huh? No, I put these outside. So we don't know where the profit will come from. Profit here, I need to give you a little word origin here. The word profit in Hebrew is kashar. Okay? Kashar.
Sneeze.
Yeah.
Kashar.
It means to be right, successful, proper, correct. To be correctly aligned with certain requirements. All right? It is the word that the Jewish people derived kosher from. So you know what kosher is, right?
Dill pickles.
Kosher means food that is properly prepared according to Jewish dietary laws. Kosher is derived from kashar. So when the word here is kashar, you do not know if kashar will come from one activity or another. So you don't know what will be proper until it happens, right? Terry doesn't know what will be the proper outcome of the race until he races. I don't know.
Forward.
So
You know what I mean?
even when you're racing forward, you don't know. I don't know when I plant things what will be the proper outcome. Will I get it to grow? Will I get it to harvest? I don't know. There are things we cannot know, and it is meaningless to try to figure them out. That is what Solomon is trying to say here. We spend too much time on the meaningless activity of trying to figure things out when we should spend more time on actually doing. And just trust God that he knows what's best, and he's directing their pathway. Okay?
He does.
So there's always those uncertainties of life, and we cannot get hung up on them. You will lose your life if you get hung up on the uncertainties. That's what faith is for. Faith is to carry you through those uncertainties to where it doesn't matter if you don't know what the outcome is. Your faith says, I trust God. That he's got me. No matter what the outcome is, he's with me, he's got me, it will be okay. All right, we're going to move on. Now we get into some kind of weird stuff here a little bit. Light is sweet. How pleasant to see a new day dawning.
Did not wake up.
Is light sweet? Do you enjoy light after the darkness?
Yes.
Why?
Because it feels good on your skin.
It does,
Right.
doesn't it? On a warm day, you walk out, the sun hits you, and oh wow. Why else is it sweet?
Makes plants
Because it
grow.
makes things grow.
Makes what?
Plants grow.
It does make plants grow.
Makes sweet things grow.
gives us another day.
It's another day. And you remember, the light always follows the darkness. Darkness does not follow the light. If you remember, and most people don't realize this, if you go all the way back to Genesis, chapter 1. Do you know that the light followed the dark? And he called it a day. That's why in Jewish tradition, a day starts at dark. Okay, when the sun sets, that's the beginning of a new day.
If you was born at night,
I was born at 8 p.m.
then technically the light would follow the night. Because you was born at night, that'd be the first thing
You saw.
experienced.
Well, when you come out,
thing would be the light.
when you come out of the womb, it's dark in the womb. When you come out, you see light. Okay, light always follows the dark. It's important to remember. And it's kind of a metaphor that you have to apply to life. Because you got those dark days. So if you know the light always follows the dark, guess what?
There's gonna be a light at the end.
You have hope that there's something better coming, and it's not the end. Because you're not going to end in darkness. There's a light coming, but you have to be patient and willing to wait for it. You know, we talked about these young...
one broke leg.
We talk about these young kids committing suicide. A lot of times they get stuck in the darkness and they don't see that there's a light that will come. And that's when they give up. A lot of people do that. They get stuck in their darkness and they don't see the light coming. They have nothing to hold on to and they lose hope. The light is always the hope. There's a reason why our New Testament refers to Jesus in these terms. He's the hope, he's the light, because the light always follows darkness. When people live to be very old, like us, me and Terry, we old, let them rejoice in every day of life. But let them also remember there will be many dark days. Everything still to come is meaningless. Let them rejoice. Terry, do you rejoice in every day of life?
Yeah,
I try to.
Try to make a point.
And I get aggravated when other people try to pull me down. Because when you get over 50, you start realizing you're on the downward.
I'm still getting up.
Now you realize my days were coming to a close. I mean, you just do. I did. Once you get past 50, you begin to realize I maybe only have, 20, 30 more years on this earth. So you know that you're moving towards that twilight time. So you try to make the most of every day. Young people, I didn't do that when I was younger. When I was 20, I looked at my life and said, I got lots of time. Don't worry about it. But when you get older, you kind of change your thinking a little bit. But he tells us we need to remember there will still be many dark days. But we need to rejoice in each day, even in the dark days. Ever tried to rejoice in the dark day? Do you find yourself rejoicing when a big, horrible thunderstorm and tornado comes up? We've had some of those recently.
No.
Were you rejoicing when that tornado came through,
Nope.
Sparkburg? No, because you're thinking, okay, there's a tornado coming. We don't rejoice. We lose that joy in the darkness. He's telling us you've got to hold on to it. Because everything is meaningless, meaning the darkness is meaningless. Okay, it has no meaning. So there's no point in not holding on to the joy. Kind of makes sense when you think about it from his perspective here. We make the darkness a bigger deal than it really is, and he's really saying it's all meaningless. Don't fret over it. Just be aware of it and rejoice in the days you have. Young people, it's wonderful to be young. Enjoy every minute of it. Do everything you want to do, take it all in, but remember that you must give an account to God for everything you do. Everything you do. Melissa, what is everything?
everything,
What does that not include?
nothing.
Exactly. You're laughing, But people don't realize everything means, you know, everything.
Like they always said that whatever you do, that's just like God, like you're making, God do it, so yeah.
Yeah. Everything you do, and everything you think, everything you eat, everything you say, you stub your toe, guess what? That's everything. You step on an ant, that's everything. You squash that spider because you hate spiders, that's everything. Everything you do, you will give an account for. You know, why did you smash that poor spider? Well, I hate spiders. Well, why? What you gonna explain to God for? How you gonna explain that one? Why did you kill that spider? You ever thought about that?
Not really.
Well, you have to give an account for everything. Doesn't matter what it is. You better have a reason for why you did it. That's a little bit scary when you think about it.
I said, I'm sorry, he was in my space. I was scared. I killed that mosquito because he was trying to eat me.
I mean, you know, it is kind of funny when you think about it, but when God says everything, I think we have to take this literally. Everything. Every thought. Why'd you have that thought about that person?
I was gassy.
Because I was bad. I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
you know,
he was.
how many people are willing to admit they're wrong? You see where the problem comes in on Judgment Day when you're not willing to admit you're wrong? And God asks, well, why did you say that? Why did you think that? Why did you do that? And you don't want to admit that you're wrong before
Oh, on
God?
that day, I'll admit I'm wrong.
You probably
Right
will.
now, I know.
I have no qualms with admitting
I'm never wrong.
But there's many people in the world that will not admit that they're wrong. Even,
I don't have a problem admitting I'm wrong, I'm just never wrong.
even standing before God. Yeah, my t-shirt says that, you know, what's it say here? To save time, let's just assume that I'm never wrong. This is the attitude of most of the world. Before God, this attitude won't fly. It's the wrong attitude.
He's gonna say, David, why'd you buy that shirt?
You're like, I didn't buy it, I wore it, but you know, I thought it was funny. Because I know I'm wrong. Now, I'm right about a lot of things, but I can be wrong about things, and I know I do wrong. So it's kind of an irony going on here. But anyway, so refuse to worry and keep your body healthy. But remember that youth, with a whole life before you, is meaningless. So enjoy your life, have a good time, take it all in. But remember, you have to give an account to God for everything you do. So refuse to worry. Any of you ever worry? You're not following Solomon's advice. Refuse to worry. What's the word refuse mean?
Do not.
It's more than do not.
I refuse to
It means
worry,
don't
but
even
then
take
I
into
worry.
consideration.
Don't even take it into consideration. Yep.
I refuse to worry, but sometimes then I worry about refusing it.
You know, that idea of do not even take it into consideration is so hard to do. You know, you look at your kid and you know he's about to say something, and you look at him and say, don't even think about it. Because you know what he's thinking. You know what he's about to do.
He's already thought about it.
And, you know, that's the idea we have to have with worry. Don't even think about it. It's hard. In the darkness, it's even harder. You've got to remember that. It's hard in good times, it's hard in the light, but in the darkness, it's even more hard. But we have to learn to train ourselves to refuse to even consider it. And keep your body healthy. Well, that makes sense. If you're not healthy, you're not going to live to be an old man or old woman.
They finally figured out the key to that, huh?
Yeah, keep your body healthy. Now, Solomon would connect you back and say, if you worry, you will not keep your body healthy.
Well, worrying, that ain't good for you, really, that.
It's not, it will lead you to having physical health problems.
Well,
It
yeah,
will-
cause worry is a form of stress.
It will
Stress
lead-
is not good for
And it
your
will
body.
lead you to do things you don't need to be doing. That's healthy for your body. So he's connecting these two. Refuse to worry, and you will keep your body healthy, is the way you should read this. If you do worry, your body won't be healthy, your mind won't be healthy. But remember, you young people, your whole life before you doesn't mean anything. Because remember, he's talking about the meaninglessness of life. A life without the idea of God and all that God offers you next beyond this life is meaningless.
I mean, you also look at it like, which I know this was before Jesus and everything, but it doesn't matter if you got your life before you, when he comes, he's here.
That's true. You don't know how many days you have left. Christ could come tomorrow. I mean, you should enjoy your life. And, you know, when you really get down with Ecclesiastes, a lot of what we're seeing here is he says, enjoy life. But remember, without God, that life is meaningless. You know, if we had to sum up this whole book, because we're almost through, next week we'll be through, that is what he's taught us. Enjoy life, but remember, without God, it is meaningless. There is nothing that has meaning without God. And that's what we have to learn. That God is what gives our life meaning. And without him, everything we do doesn't matter. And I think we see people in our world today starting to realize that. They're living their life the way they want to, but they're realizing, I think, it really doesn't have any purpose. It has no meaning. It's not fulfilling. It doesn't satisfy what they want. And so what do you get? You get a lot of unhappy people. You get a lot of people trapped in dark thoughts and dark actions, and they think their life isn't worth living anymore. And I think we see a lot of that today. And the solution to that is very simple. You need to turn back to God. God gives life meaning. So if you turn back to God, you can still enjoy your life, but you can enjoy it and know that it has meaning because God gives it meaning. And that's where we've disconnected in the world. We separated God from life, and life without God has no meaning, and it will give you no happiness. All right, that's tonight's chapter. Y'all got any thoughts or questions? Anybody? Leave that on while we pray, and then you can take it off. Let's pray. Lord God, we are thankful again to come into your house to study your word. I'm thankful for this book, because I think it is important that we all remember that a life without you is purpose. It has no purpose. It has no meaning. And that it is only through living in you that we truly enjoy life and we live life. And I personally want to thank you for that, Lord. I want to give you honor and praise for that. And I pray, Lord, that people will see the truth of that statement, will reach out to you and come to know you and come to live in your shadow, to find rest in your shadow. And to realize, Lord, that having you control and rule our lives does not mean that we have to give up. Instead, we get much more than we ever thought we could. You're not some evil dictator. You're not a tyrant. And I'm afraid oftentimes people that don't know you think you are. So I pray, Lord, that you open the eyes of these people. And that you would show them, Lord, what a loving God you are. A God who only wants the best for us and wants us to be happy, to enjoy life. You created it to be enjoyed. But you've also created it so that you are part of it. can't separate you from life. So listen, I had to learn the hard way. Most of the people in this room learned it the hard way. We had to struggle, we had to suffer. We had to go through those places, Lord, that we don't ever want to have to go through again, and would love to prevent other people from going through. So I pray, Lord, that if we can be of any encouragement to people, that you would use us, you would put us in the path of someone who needs us, who needs to hear about you, to know about you, the real you, not the one they think they know of you, but who you really are. We're going to open ourselves up to that opportunity tonight and offer our service to you. And we're going to thank you and we're going to praise you. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.